Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. If you liked that intro, I had fun doing it. I hope you liked it. And Lids has hooked us up with some gift cards, and they like what we do. I like what they do. You know that I've been praising Lids for forever on this channel, regardless, even before they knew about me or the channel or anything. I love Lids.
It's your favorite place.
It is literally my favorite place, my favorite store, and I'm so happy to partner with them here for this video. So the Adidas jerseys, were announced about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, and it's a big contract for the NHL.
Huge.
It's 10 years, I think.
Yep.
And they just came out. They're just available for purchase. And I kind of put a teaser on Instagram of what jersey I actually got, and it was just red of the back, and Carolina, Calgary guesses, and Montreal guesses. But if you know from the intro, it is obviously Montreal Canadiens.
I'm shocked.
But I did this for two reasons. Reason number one is because, well, you have actually a Reebok version, the previous generation of jerseys in the NHL of the Montreal Canadiens, and this is the new version, and I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison because that's important. The goal here is to have this be the most in-depth Adidas NHL jersey review on the internet. So what I've done is I've gone through this Adidas jersey with a fine comb. I've picked out all the little tiny flaws, the little nitpicky things with the extra threads, and I turned it inside out, literally. I did the same thing for that jersey. So we're going to go through this jersey.
All right.
We're going to go through this jersey, talk about some stuff, and then we're going to compare the two side by side. I've taken pictures of all the stuff. It's going to be behind me as we're talking, and I'm also going to host all those photos, full resolution, for you guys to look at full res, down in the description. So feel free to have those photos for free, do whatever you want with them, and if you like what you see, head on over to Lids. They've got all of them listed on there for about $200. And if you're a member, you get I think it's 10% off. So it comes to about $182 plus tax Canadian. And it's one of the cheapest places to get it, if not the cheapest. I think NHL.com has them for $250. Sorry. So Lids has really gone above and beyond here.
And when you got yours, I think the day you got it, you were number one man.
I was the first person in Prince Edward Island to get an Adidas NHL jersey the day they launched. So big shout out to Lids here. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I know that you guys at home will appreciate it too, because there's a lot of jersey heads out there. They just love jerseys. So I'm really excited to bring this to you. All right, so let's look at this actual Adidas jersey. Now I've taken photos, like I said, of every single piece of this jersey. It's going to be behind us, and just follow along. And actually, you haven't seen these photos. You haven't. You don't really know anything about this jersey. Nope. And I'm going to take you through. So the most important thing of the jersey, it's got to be the crest. Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. So this is a stitched, very nicely stitched logo on here. And when we do a comparison to the Reebok jersey, you'll see some very major differences and stuff. But they did a really good job, actually. If you look closely, the stitching is really, really nice. There's no mistakes. There's no severe extra threads or anything.
Very symmetrical, very...
Yeah, it's spot on, actually. It's really well done. If you look at the laces up here, this is maybe the second most important thing, because this is new. These kind of half laces that don't really tie. They're just for visual appeal, I guess. They don't really do anything. But I do like them. They just have that extra appeal to it.
All right.
So I have a few close-up photos of those, and also just above that, you'll notice that's a plastic badge there.
Yeah, and it has a metallic look.
Yeah,
to it.
And it's flexible. It moves around. And if you look at, I don't want to do the comparison right now, but compare that.
Yeah, that's just a stitched crest.
It's a stitched crest. So this is, I believe, heat pressed on here maybe, but it looks really good. It's shiny. It's sharp.
I really sharp. Like that. Yeah.
You'll just see some close-up pictures of the actual thread line around the edges of the logo. It's just in really good condition. They did a tremendous job. And next up, let's look at the collar, or inside a collar. So it's actually made in Indonesia.
Really?
I believe the last jerseys were as well, or the Reebok jerseys. We could find out pretty easily, I guess, if we look
so.
inside.
We just have a quick peek here. Indonesia.
Yeah,
correct.
So they must have a contract over there, but they did a tremendous job. And you'll notice a few things here that aren't the same on the Reebok ones, like the sizing. So Adidas uses numbers as sizes. 46 is small, 44 is extra small, 48 is medium. Every 2 for the USA number is a size in letter in the Reebok. So there is charts online, on lids actually. For every jersey, there's just a comparison chart. Really easy to find out your size. I'm small. Small fits me the best, and that's 46 in Adidas. So if you're looking for small in Adidas, it's 46. And you'll notice the great addition there of
that's great. And
of the French. And
for those who don't know the Montreal Canadiens tradition, on their dressing room, painted around the top of the lockers, is a few verses from In Flanders Fields, a very famous poem that's read out at the Cenotaph and Canadian Remembrance Day services on November the 11th every year. And that is a French translation of the poem, which is basically the part, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, to hold it high.
And the torch is a pretty big part of Canadians' history. They bring
Don't
it
get me going.
In the playoffs, they light the ice up.
I'm gonna get emotional.
It's a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
So it's a good looking collar. It's a lovely touch.
Yeah.
I really like what Adidas did there. If we look at the back here, we have the Adidas logo, and I wanted to point out something really unique here.
All right.
We have different materials. On the Reebok one, it's kind of all one material, but on the Adidas one here, you have a patch in the middle where this bit on the edge is actually stretchy. And in here, it's not as stretchy. Where in this, that's a whole material. So if you get tugged over here, it's pulling the whole thing, which might cause that to maybe come unstitched or whatever. But they did this really smartly. Is that? I don't know if smartly is a word, but they did a really good job on that. That's smart.
Very good.
And just the different materials in general, they've really taken a lot of time to research.
And that seems to be what stands out the most from a bit of a distance.
Right.
You know, from 3 or 4 feet away or 5, 10 feet away, you see this, it's not really a waffle, but it's a different type of surface texture than the other jerseys have had. And it stands out and it makes it visually different. And it's probably the most remarkable thing I think you'd notice from a distance. I wasn't sure how I felt about it when I first saw them, but there's actually technology built into that material too. It's not just for show. There's the whole airflow and
if you look under their arms, it's thinner material, so we get a lot more airflow. On the back, it's thicker, it's more tightly knitted or tightly sewed, I guess. Sorry, they just did a really good job, and it's really impressive. And one thing I did notice is that on the side and the seam, I don't know if I call this a problem, but it doesn't actually match up.
It's a little out of alignment.
But you don't really see that part of the jersey. No. Anyways, it's not a huge deal. I just wanted to point it out so I can be as transparent as possible here.
We have to find something to show it's not perfect.
Yes, it's not perfect, but the seams also underneath the arm, I thought that it was really well done. It doesn't look like there's no mistakes here. There's no weird gaping holes. They did a really good job. And if you look at the front, now on the Reebok jerseys, there's a big patch which says the size, and it's huge. It's actually one of the complaints I had about the Reebok jerseys. But Adidas just has this little button thing, or not, it's not a button, but it's just a little plastic thing. It's actually squishy. It's kind of almost addictive.
Yeah, it's like bubble wrap that doesn't pop.
Yeah, but it's much smaller in comparison. And I'll show it side by side at the end of this video, so stick around for that. And this is actually quite interesting. So Reebok does have their jerseys where they do have the tie straps in it, the tie-down straps, but Adidas is providing this in all of their jerseys, all versions of their jerseys, and it's 98% of the people aren't going to use this, but it's a nice touch. It's an authentic touch. Yeah. It's thoughtful. It makes it more real, and this one doesn't have it. Although, like I said, you can buy Reebok jerseys with it. You just have to pay extra. You don't have to pay extra here with Adidas. You just get it.
It's just standard equipment.
Which is nice. And it is stitched actually quite well around the outside. There's no mistakes, no extra threads really there. Yeah. And if we actually look at the bottom.
This is the inside we're looking at.
This is the inside and the bottom.
Yeah.
No mistakes here.
And usually on the inside is where they'll take shortcuts because no one will ever see it.
Yes, and we'll see that with that jersey in a bit.
There's no shortcut apparent there for sure.
Looks good.
Yeah.
If we flip this over and we look at the back, this might be the most pristine part of the jersey. It is literally perfect. It's straight. It's parallel. There's no warps or waves. It's stitched perfectly all the way along through. It's perfect. I don't notice anything.
And there's really good alignment here on the seams.
Yeah, I'm going to show that a bit later.
Yeah.
They did a really good job there.
Cool.
So if we look down further on the back of the jersey, this is the other side of the tie strap.
Okay.
So that's where it's sewed in. And there's a little thread there on the top left sticking out. But that's really, really nitpicky. Otherwise, it's pretty good. So now we're going to, like I said, turn this thing inside out. Because not a lot of people do this, and why would they, really? It doesn't really matter. But the point of this is that we look at every inch of this thing. We want to see the innards. We want to see any potential threads that'll catch on something and tear, cause any problems in the future.
Because if you're going to spend this kind of money for a jersey, you want it to last a long time.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want it to survive, wearing it at games and taking it with you in suitcases. And,
yeah, you want to take care of it.
And
it's important.
times in the washing machine or whatever it has to go through. So you want it to be good.
So on the back here we can see that it is a legit stitched logo. They've stitched all the way around the edges of the Canadiens logo. There are, of course, a few threads hanging. It's going to be expected. There's not going to be a jersey out there that you get that's not going to have a few extra threads. And I'll show a bit of that later when I look at the problems section, which aren't really problems. They're just little nitpicky things. If we move up here and look at the inside of the collar, it looks a little messy or almost over sewn. But that's not really a bad thing. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, no one's going to look at the inside of the jersey and care if it's messy or if it's neat. It doesn't really matter that much. But I just wanted to show it regardless so you guys can see.
Right.
Now if we look at the inside of the bottom again, just wanted to point that out. They did a really good job there. And if we move back up to the shoulder area here, you can see the other side of all these different materials.
Oh, yeah.
So where it looks very different on one side here with the holes, on the inside it's actually much different. It's a lot closer. It's much more comparable to the other material on the front. But you do still get that under the arm mesh, lots of breathing room. I think they just did a tremendous job. I was really impressed. If we look on the side seam here, where the tags are on the inside, where everything meets, there's nothing out of place. There's no mistakes. Every thread is where it's supposed to be. I don't see any mistakes whatsoever. Now that we've turned this inside out, and we're gonna come back to this because we're gonna do a comparison, and we're gonna look at a few problems that I found with this, like I said, that aren't actually problems.
Right.
Let's look at the Reebok jersey to compare.
So now we're going to look at the jersey that is replacing.
Yes, and this is a 2011-2012 official Reebok jersey. And where'd you get that?
I got this. It came from an auction. Canadian viewers will be very familiar with Scott Morrison, who's an executive and host and frequent appearance contributor on Hockey Night in Canada, as well as the Sportsnet generally. Scott Morrison's wife Kathy passed away several years ago from cancer, and ever since Scott has run a charity golf tournament and auction to try to raise money for cancer research in her name. Scott's brother, John, happens to be a very good friend of mine, and I worked with John for many years. And one day he called me and said, there's a chance that there's going to be an autographed Montreal Canadiens jersey at the auction this year. Would you like to bid on it? And I said, absolutely I would. So we talked a bit about what my maximum price that I could afford at the time would be, and I gave it to John. I said, you're authorized to go right up to whatever. And sure enough, I won the jersey. So I got the jersey eventually in a courier package from John, along with a letter of authenticity that came right from the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens donated this jersey to the golf tournament fundraising campaign. All the Montreal Canadiens players in the 2011-2012 team autographed the jersey, basically all around the crest, and you can see that in the image. You can see Carey Price over there in the far left, and the Carey Price 31. You can basically pick out all of the signatures of the team as it was then. And the letter is here from the Montreal Canadiens organization that authenticates the jersey and wishes Scott Morrison all the best in raising money for his charity event. So this is a treasured
absolutely
item in my ownership collection. And this will be soon. We needed it out so you could do this side by side and all the photography, but this soon is going into a shadow box where I hope it will remain forever.
Forever, yes.
So it won't have any further handling, and it'll be able to survive longer.
Exactly. So we'll be a little bit more gentle with this one.
Yeah.
But this is the Reebok version. Now, there's a huge difference here. The logo on the front is actually heat pressed on. It's not sewed. The Canadiens do have a sewed version of the logo on here, but this specific version is not sewed. So there are going to be differences from this to that one as how like how they were processed. And you'll see that more so in the inside. But it actually looks pretty good. You'll notice that it's bigger when we do the side-by-side comparison later. The logo is bigger on the jersey.
Yeah.
But it does look pretty good. I do notice a few edges here that are coming up. So I would personally prefer it sewed, like the Adidas one. But we'll move on with this. Let's move up into the collar. Big difference here. It feels different. If I just hand you back this, if we switch.
Sure.
And you feel that. It just there's a difference.
Yeah.
It feel like when you feel this, you feel okay, but then you feel that, and you're like, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
And then you come back to this, and you're like, eh. So there is a difference.
Oh, no question.
And there's even a difference in the stitching. Like, look, I can lift that almost right up, and just the edges are stitched. I can see a lot of stuff that could get caught on that.
Yeah.
So you'll notice if I just extend the arm here, all that material looks very similar.
It does.
It's a bit different under the arm, just like the Adidas one, but not as exaggerated as much.
Yeah.
There is breathing room, but just not as much. It's all very similar material. Again, it is nice. It's just not as nice as the Adidas one, or as advanced, I guess would be the right word. If we move on to the arm, you'll notice that the lines aren't actually parallel all the way around. They come in, and they're shorter on this side and longer on this side.
On purpose, I would think.
On purpose, but on the Adidas, it's on purpose, but it doesn't look that good. You kind of want it to be the same.
Yeah, parallel all the way around.
Parallel all the way around. So I'm gonna have to give a minus on Reebok for that one, just for the side-by-side comparison.
Sure.
If I didn't have that in my hands and looked at that, I probably wouldn't care, but just for fun. So we talked about this earlier a little bit with the Adidas one. There is a patch at the bottom of this.
Right.
It's quite big, and it was one of my complaints with the Reebok jerseys, if not my only complaint. I just didn't like that on there. Like, why do they have to say the size on the outside of the jersey? Put it on the inside. Put it in the collar. Put it underneath. It doesn't really need to be on the outside, so I really like what Adidas did there with just that little button.
That little button. Yeah.
As we move on, if we flip it to the back side, you'll notice that this is heat pressed on as well, this Reebok logo.
Okay.
And it is starting to come up on the edges, and this jersey has not been worn.
Never been worn.
Used.
Never been mishandled.
Yeah, so if I had a jersey that was wearing a lot and stuff, I would be worried that would potentially come off. And let's just very gently flip this inside out, because it is important that we look at the difference here on the inside. So the collar actually looks pretty good. The stitching is nice. I would say that this actually looks better than the inside of the Adidas one. It's a little more clean. But if we look at the logo here on the inside, this is where you can really tell it was heat pressed. There's no stitching coming through. You can see it was tightly heat pressed there, and this makes the inside of the jersey look good, but obviously creates more risk for the outside of the jersey.
Yeah, good point.
Now, if you come down at the bottom where the other side of that patch that was on the front, that shows the size, there are some stitching mistakes there, but not a big deal. It doesn't look too bad.
No.
And the arms on the inside. Let me get this arm out here. The arms actually look pretty good. I was impressed with the inside of the arms on this one. The stitching is really, really great. There's no mistakes. There's a bit of overlap on some of them, but it looks pretty good. Now, this jersey had a lot of frayed pieces on the inside.
Hanging threads.
Just a lot, and hanging threads, and not just like little hanging threads, like big, long hanging threads like this. Like, look how long that is. And you can tell from that picture that I took.
Yeah.
To me, that's a bit unacceptable. Like, this jersey has never been worn before. I would be scared that this would rip. I'm glad it's on the inside and not the outside, but I would go around and snip all these or try and tighten them up. Okay, so we've looked at the inside of both, we've looked at the outside of both, and now it's time to compare. So if we look at the logos, like I said earlier, this one, the Reebok one, is bigger, significantly bigger, actually.
Yeah.
I don't really have a preference here. I think this probably looks a little better because it's not so floppy. Like, this one flops a lot.
Yeah.
Having it smaller doesn't give it the opportunity to do that as much. If we look again, we kind of compared the collars earlier, but going through these pictures,
it's really nice to see the difference in the metallic.
Yeah,
you know,
it's quite noticeable in quality. Like I said earlier, all these pictures are going to be available down in the description. You can go view them at full res. And again, just to compare the shoulders here, if we look at them side by side, where the arms are, there's, I think, 4 different materials here. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4 if you want to count that. And here there's 2, I guess, the underarm and then the sides. So much more advanced. They've taken their time with that. And I already showed the difference between the parallel arm line here. This one's parallel, this one's not. It's shorter on one side than it is the other.
Right.
And the ends of the arms, this actually has a Reebok word here on it, but the ends of the arms of this jersey doesn't have anything, which is a plus in my books. The less advertising, the better. And if you take the arm and flip it inside out, you'll notice that this is stitched once, and it's the same. It's just one stitch, and then it's just normal all the way around. This one's actually stitched 3 times.
Sorry, just trying to get it out.
That's okay.
There you go.
No worries. So that if you turn this inside out, you notice how it's stitched 3 times?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's a pro or a con. I just wanted to make it known. Maybe there's an expert at home that could clarify in the comments, but I don't have no preference. I don't know if one's good or bad. I just wanted to make note of it.
Cool.
And if we look at the back, which I already kind of talked about, you have this patch on the back, this Adidas, it's in its own sewed patch here. So if it's stretched here or stretched there, it's going to stretch in this other material before it stretches on that material, where this is just, you can see it kind of ripping, or not ripping, but stressing, yes. And one of the last things I wanted to point out, second last thing, if we flip underneath the arm, and the seam going down underneath of the arm. Now, if we just stretch it out just a little bit, do you see how there's not a lot of overlap there? How it doesn't fall into itself? With this one, it can kind of, it wants to overlap and pull into itself a little bit.
Right.
I don't know if that's on purpose or just the way it was laying, but I think that looks better. It looks like this was almost stitched too far in. It's coming back on itself a little bit. And then the last thing, just a minor thing, the Reebok jersey actually splits at the bottom on the side, and the Adidas one doesn't. I didn't notice that, first of all, until I looked at this. So just a note there. Not a bad thing, just a note. Now, the problems that I've found with the Adidas jersey, which aren't really problems, just a few stitching things. Imperfections. So just threads. And this is as bad as it gets, and it's not even close to bad. So there's one thread just above the logo. That one's on the arm. That one's on the back above. Just the imperfection of how it doesn't line up a little bit. And 2 pictures here, they're of the same thing. The one on the bottom is a shallow angle, and the one on the top is a face down angle, and that's the back where the tie down strap is. And then just the back of the logo, you can see all those extra threads. And the back of the collar, like I said, looks a little...
like someone's face.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Looks a little busy, though.
Yeah.
And just another random thread on the inside, and that's on the inside as well. And that's it. That's the worst that I could find on it. So
pretty darn good.
Really, I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it now that you've handled it, because you haven't handled it until right now in this video.
First time.
What's your thoughts?
Well, again, I'll go back to the thing that stands out more for a distance. I am not a design expert. I'm not a clothier. I'm not, even though my last name is Taylor, I know nothing about tailoring. So that said, I'm just appreciating the aesthetics from a fan point of view, and maybe trying to put myself in the mind of a player. I think that jersey would be comfortable to wear. I think it would be environmentally cooler, and where it's in places where it's supposed to be. So I think it does the job very well. I like the smaller crest. I think that's maybe a bit of a throwback to the way the uniforms were a few decades ago, where I think the crest was a bit smaller. So I really like it. And from a distance, though, if I were to try to pick one from the other than the obvious, like the Reebok patch that would be visible, whereas the Adidas one doesn't have that patch,
yep,
I'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between the two, just because I really don't pay that much attention. But there are some obvious differences. I do like the laces. They're totally useless.
They're useless, but they're a nice little touch.
Yeah, but we all have an appendix in our body. It's useless too, and we still soldier on with it. So
exactly.
But it's the waffling or whatever. I'm sure there's a proper name for it, of the shoulders in particular, that I think really makes this jersey stand out visually from the other one.
And it is noticeably lighter as well than this jersey. If you hold this one, it does feel a bit dense almost, or a bit heavy, and compared to this one. Well,
this has a lot of signatures on it. There's some pretty heavyweight guys on here. But,
Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Like I said, in the description below, there'll be a link of some kind linking to all of these images you've seen behind me in full resolution, and actually more that I didn't show behind me. Please take advantage of that. Go look for yourself. If you're kind of on the fence thinking about getting an Adidas jersey, go look at the pictures and see for yourself the flaws and the perfections and everything. Just go check it out, because it's important. If Lids didn't help us out here to get this jersey, I don't know if I would have got one. I would have eventually. I don't know if I would have got one now. Now that I've had this in my hands, I've looked at it, I can confidently say that I probably would get one sooner rather than later. And I'm not saying that because Lids hooked us up. That's just my genuine opinion. If you are interested in going and getting an Adidas jersey, I do recommend Lids, obviously, lids.ca and lids.com, the US and Canadian site there. They've got deals all the time. These are, like I said, $200. I do plan on getting another one soon. I'm not sure what team. Maybe Vegas? I don't know. But I like them.
And Vegas, I think, had one that was available that day, but not in your size.
Yes, yeah. I may have gotten that.
You were close.
I was close. I was, yeah.
Because I think it's a lovely looking uniform.
Yeah, it really is. It's a nice looking jersey. But if you're still strapped for cash or something like that, stick to the Reebok ones. Still very nice. Again, really hard to pick anything out there that's really a huge problem.
Yeah, and because Reebok is no longer the official producer, a lot of their stock will probably be on sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll be quite easy to get these at a much reduced price from when they were the jersey.
Yeah, well, actually, I just got a Reebok jersey on Lids for $70, an official Reebok jersey. So there you go. There's all kinds of stuff on sale on Lids.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lids, for hooking us up here with this jersey. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching at home. Like I said, there's link in the description is pictures of all this stuff, full resolution. If you have any questions about the jersey, let me know down below. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. And we'll see you in the next one. Adios.